Welcome to Flunking the Written, a fully spoiled Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast in which two Uber fans break down every episode of the show. Join Kimberly and Megan every other Tuesday as they overanalyze each scene and discuss the Buffyverse at large. Now let's meet up with the Scoobies and get into this episode of Flunking the Written.
What can I say? I flunked the written.
All right, Kim, we are ready to get into our discussion of Choices, which was written by David Fury and directed by James A. Contner. And the DVD blurb is, the mayor imprisons Willow after Buffy and Angel steal a box containing I'm not sure how that's spelled. I am trying to read this in the darkest of corners. Here we go.
Demonic?
Yeah, it's demonic, but it's like, okay. My brain had a fry there.
I really hope it says demonic spiders.
That's not what it says, but okay.
Oh.
The DVD blurb is, the mayor imprisons Willow after Buffy and Angel steal a box containing demonic energy, which the mayor needs for his Ascension Day.
Yeah, demonic spider sounds better.
Energy comes in the form of spiders.
Yeah.
So I have watched this episode 3 times, and the first 2 times I watched it, I was kind of like, it's a meh episode for me. It doesn't really stand out, but it isn't terrible, like, it isn't a Go Fish or a Teacher's Pet, but it doesn't really do much for me. And then on the third,
I like this one.
The third rewatch, I realized there's a couple things in it that really make me angry.
Really?
So it got an emotional response. Maybe not the emotional response it was going for, but it got some angry feelings out of me this most recent watch. That just may be me in general, though. I may just be in an angry mood, but I'll talk about that as we get towards the end of the episode. So people,
I really like this one. I enjoy it. I enjoy this one. I will say, recovering from surgery on my arm, I watched through the entire rest of the series, and season 7, there is something in almost every episode that makes me angry, like especially the second half, like all of it. I'm just like, no, what? So those are going to be some really long podcasts because I've got tons to say, and I haven't even taken notes on it. So I'm just saying.
Oh, season 7.
Season 3. We're back in season 3.
Okay. So we start in the mayor's office. The mayor is giving Faith a gift. She starts to make comments on the occasion, and he says it's appreciation for running a small errand at the airport. And she makes some quirky comments about like the mundanity of what he's asking for, and he says that this isn't a free ride, young lady. I'm beginning to think somebody's getting a little spoiled, and she clutches the present and pulls it towards her and says, "Sorry, sir," and my heart breaks for this girl.
Who has probably never received a present.
Yeah.
That was not, I was fixing to say that was not like a down payment on something that she would have to do, but then immediately the mayor tells her something she has to do, so that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Probably never received a present at all.
Truthfully, like,
even if it was like manipulative.
Mm-hmm. And this is the Faith Mayor relationship is so interesting because like you can see how much Faith is being manipulated, but you're still just like, oh, it's so wholesome, but also ew, but also aw, but also eh.
Yeah. The only thing about their relationship that does not make me immediately be like, this is is that there's nothing sexual about it. Mm-hmm. And because it's like that. It's grooming. He's grooming her.
He is.
And like there could easily be something sexual. And the only reason that we think this relationship is wholesome is because there's not.
Yeah.
When you watch their relationship develop and how it goes and everything, you're expecting sexual like the whole time. And the only reason that it's not horrible is, and everyone doesn't immediately think it's horrible, is because it's not. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only thing left out of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It is very much, he is grooming her. There's moments of gaslighting. He is manipulating everything about her to keep her in his pocket and to use her for his gains.
Alienating her from every other person in her life. Yeah. It has got all the red flags of abuse. It's
but also
not abusive. Is that it's got all the red flags of abuse. It's just not abusive.
Yeah, I mean, it's still very emotionally abusive, but it's not
physically or sexually.
Yeah, and that's the it's so subtle in it, and it's something that, mentioning season 7 again, Faith carries for many years. So she opens up the gift. It is the very famous jackal knife, which I think is only in like 3 episodes, 3 or 4 episodes, but it's there. I have a 3D printed one hanging on my wall at the moment. It is.
Do you really?
Yeah, I have a 3D.
Where did you get it?
Etsy. I have a 3D printed jackal knife and a 3D printed Slayer scythe hanging on my wall.
I would love to have the scythe. Absolutely love to have the Slayer scythe to put on the wall. I could 100% hang it on the same little thing where all of Adam's collected swords and stuff from fantasy.
I have it on the wall with Xena's sword and Xena's chakram, which those are official merch items that they're just like plastic kids toys, but they're still like, it's just it makes me happy. It's a good wall. So back to the knife. It's a thing of beauty.
Boss, it is a thing of beauty. Yeah. Weirdly, she calls him boss.
Yeah. I wonder if that's another grooming thing, if that's like what he wanted to be called.
Maybe. Well, she called him daddy once and he stopped her.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't like that kind of thing. Yeah. One thing in this scene, there is a plate of chocolate chip cookies. And she picks one up after, being encouraged to by the bear and takes a bite. And then when she goes to open the gift, she puts it back down on the plate of cookies, which is fine. She's eating cookies, puts it back down. But the mayor, who is so obsessed with cleanliness and germs, then gets saran wrap and wraps the plate of cookies up, put them away with the cookie with a bite out of it on the plate.
Yes.
And I just went out. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. It doesn't continue anything or anything like that. It's just I noticed it because the mayor is so obsessed with germs and stuff. And he still did that. And it's just kind of like, why would you do that if you don't like germs? What about the germs?
Yeah, there's germs there.
Yeah. Anyway.
I did not read that much into the cookies, but I like that. I did.
Well, I don't know if there's anything to read into it. It's just something I noticed. But once you started
down that path and you're just like, and then the mayor wrapped it up with that cookie, and I was like, okay. And then you're like, and he doesn't like germs. I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a character
really
trait.
Obsessed with germs. So, okay. And then we break from the mayor's office and we are with Buffy and Angel at night, and they're in the middle of a fight. And they are fighting multiple vampires, and then they stake them, and Angel is like, well, you want to do, another sweep? And she's like, it's what I live for, but I'm sad to say. And he goes, are you tired? And she basically says, don't you get the feeling we're in a rut? You never take me anyplace new, which is fairly funny. And then Angel kind of
suddenly an old married couple, these two.
Oh, exactly.
She calls him honey.
Yeah, which I don't know if she's ever done before.
Yeah, I don't like.
It's possible she has, but it kind of sounds odd.
It does. Like, it stands out as a weird thing for Buffy to say. The only other time that I can remember Buffy using the expression honey was when she was like magically engaged to Spike. Like, it's like an out of place thing for Buffy to say is honey.
And she uses the word darling then too, I think. Anyway, she says, you never take me anyplace. And Angel responds with, what about that fire bean nest down by the beach?
It's by the beach, man.
Yeah, it was the beach.
It's romantic.
And then Buffy mentions that, is this our future? Is this going to be how we spend our nights when I'm 50 and you're the same age you are now? Which kind of is foreshadowing some other things in the episode.
We're definitely setting up the beginning of the end. We've done that a few times this season, but we're going to do it again.
More than once. At this point, obviously, we already know that Angel's getting his own show. I think.
I don't know.
I think the first one for that was it was either the first or second one with Wesley, I think, when we knew Angel was getting his own show. Because it was the first time they made him like the hero instead of kind of standing back watching Buffy.
Well, and we've talked about it. I think even in this scene, you can see like Angel feels like a more fully realized character, especially in these more recent episodes where they're starting to like play with him a little bit more. And that line about like, the cave by the beach, I felt like that was a a nice change of pace, felt like a Angel from Angel the series line more than an Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer line.
Exactly.
Like, that is, you can tell that they're kind of changing their writing style a little bit and making him not just Buffy's broody boyfriend.
And then Angel says, let's just get you to 50. And they start fighting. Well, 2 more vampires charge. And he says, let's just get you to 50. And they start fighting again. And then that's the end of the teaser. And we open back up to Buffy in the kitchen. And she's reading the newspaper, which every time I see this scene, if I'm not thinking very hard about it, just kind of vaguely watching, I'm like, what is she looking for? Because Buffy only ever reads the newspaper when she's looking for news about something that she did or was involved with.
Yeah.
And so she's reading the newspaper, and I
wonder
really
also
any reason to.
Yeah. I wonder also if it's maybe, like a sign of maturity or like being domestic, the idea of reading the morning paper, that they might be playing around with Buffy here as well as
I don't know.
as she's aging up. Or it may have just been like, all right, we have this scene, let's
have her doing something.
Sarah Michelle Gellar a prop paper because we don't know what else to have her do.
It's actually very possible that she's looking for an article about the fire demons. I'm just saying.
Maybe.
It's
maybe.
Could be. So her mom enters and like, Buffy, when are you going to tell me? And Buffy immediately thinks that it's about her earrings, and she's like, starts to give them back to her mom. And her mom says that she was accepted to Northwestern University, and that she's so proud of her, and kind of starts going on and on about how great it is. We could do this if your father pitches in. It's a great school. So proud of you. And my thought in this one is that isn't like, I guess we haven't decided to make Buffy's dad quite a deadbeat yet.
Right.
It's working up to it though.
Yeah.
But we haven't quite made it there yet.
I'll have a lot to say about that as we get to like full on deadbeat dad. But yeah, like so far the only thing that's really happened other than him just being kind of absent in general is that he missed her birthday. And that was like, aw.
Yeah, and it was because he accidentally had to work, you know. Buffy is not near as excited as her mom is. She's kind of, oh, okay. Joyce at one point says that she's got a cousin Arlene and her family in Illinois, so I'm going to call and tell them. And I'm just like, I mean, maybe it's just me or my family or whatever, but like, I don't know. If one of my kids got into a really great college, I would probably call and tell grandparent, maybe a really close aunt, but I really don't have any cousins who I would specifically call to tell this. I might like send a group message on Facebook or something, but I don't know that I would like specifically call to tell them this. It feels kind of
Well, I think it's because
odd.
of their location, right? Because they're in the same state as the school. So she's just like, oh, they're over there. So we're going to call them and tell them. So
but even in that situation, if this happened, I'd probably be like, congratulations. I only see you like at the family reunion and at Thanksgiving and Christmas, but thanks for letting me know. I just, maybe it's,
we literally never talk.
Maybe this family is supposedly closer than that, but like we never see any family.
Yeah.
Not even the grandparents that are occasionally, the grandmother that's occasionally mentioned, just saying. And then we are at school and some kids are sitting with a bag to eat lunch, and Principal Snyder appears. We haven't seen him in a while.
He's just being extra Snyder in this episode.
Like, seriously, it's like he read an article about high school and drug use and decided that's his thing.
That's his mission. That's the only thing he's going to focus on. No, my theory is like maybe he took like a vacation, like not one that he wanted to take, but like a forced vacation, and that's why we haven't seen him in a while, and then he came back and he like doubled down.
Maybe, but he pretty much spends this whole episode. I know we see him twice. We might see him 3 times, but he spends the whole thing looking for drugs.
Yeah,
and accusing, not just looking for drugs, accusing people of doing drugs when they're just doing random things like eating lunch.
Yeah.
Like it's I assume lunchtime. This student has a brown paper bag, which for like the last 60 years, I think, has been a symbol of I brought my lunch.
Yeah.
There's a lunch in this bag. At least in the United States, where
but
this is set.
that's the trap, though. You make it so obviously lunch that it has to be drugs. Snyder's onto something.
Oh yeah, possibly. You better check the school receptionist fanny pack then, because that's probably where she's hiding her drugs.
Oh yeah.
He grabs it and it's like, what's in the bag? And the student's like, my lunch. And he's like, is that the new drug lingo? And the student's like, no, it's my lunch. Which is, the student does this, I don't know who this is, but he does it wonderfully.
Yeah.
Like, he is just really confused, like, no, it's my lunch. Like, he's dealt with Snyder every day for the last 2 weeks, and he has had it up to here with him.
Oh, yeah. These kids are so ready to graduate and get out of this school. They're so done.
And then Snyder sees that it's a lunch and is like, well, then sit up straight.
His Snyder is cranked up to 11.
Yeah. We move over and we've got Buffy, Willow, Oz, Xander. They're all sitting under a tree.
Willow's talking to Buffy about Joyce being in denial, and Buffy's like, yeah, I'll have to stay here, but I got into UC Sunnydale, so, at least I have that going for me. And apparently Willow got into Oxford, which is where they make Giles's.
This is the first reference to a college in Sunnydale, right?
I guess so. I don't know where the college boys were from in the season 2 episode where they were dating college boys.
Well, they could have been from any nearby town or whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, at any given point, there's like, a million pop up whatever you needs for Sunnydale. So,
well, yeah, they had an airport at one point. Oh, they're gonna have an airport at one point. That's still coming. But now we have a college which we can assume pretty much all of the main characters are going to go to, and at least one character is supposed to go off to somewhere else, but then ends up coming back, because that's always kind of a thing too.
Yes, it's very classic. How do we transition our kids to college but keep all the same cast? Xander's talking about hitting the open road. It's gonna be inspired by Kerouac and just be an anti-establishment type. That's his bohemian lifestyle that he's gonna pursue. And Oz points out that that's gonna make him weird. I was like, yeah, that's the thing. And Cordelia shows up to be Cordelia, and we love her for it. And her and Xander are just venomous to each other.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Well, Xander's venomous to Cordelia. Cordelia's kind of venomous to like everybody except Oz.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny because like Xander's way of sticking it to Cordelia is talking about how great Willow is. And I'm just like, dude, you two are apart because you cheated on her with Willow. And now you're not even with Willow, and you're still using Willow as a tool to put Cordelia down. What is going on with you psychologically, man?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to do.
Oh, man. But yeah, Cordelia's extra Cordelia, as Willow points out, and like is mean to pretty much everybody. Like, puts down Willow for the school she got into, puts down Buffy for not having a future, and but Willow kind of just shrugs it off, but Buffy seems to take a little bit of it more to heart and is a little upset at the end of the scene. And like you just got this long lingering shot as Xander and Willow have their back and forth about maybe not arguing with Cordelia all the time, and Buffy's just sitting there, and you can tell like she's got that I want to go off and have a normal life.
I think here Xander asks Cordelia what college she'll be attending, and Cordelia says, none of your business, certainly nowhere near you losers. But I mean, generally people know what college they're going to like February, March of senior year. It's not like they don't wait till graduation or around graduation. So Cordelia should already know. So I think by this point, it's already been written in that the thing with her mom and dad not paying their taxes and everything.
Well, it's actually, I'm not sure how long it's been since you've watched it, but it's revealed at the end of this episode that she's working at that place. So like, it's definitely in the text.
At this point.
Yeah. I don't know if it ever happened before that.
I don't think so.
I don't think there's ever really, like, there's stuff that I tried so hard. This is the episode where they finally have Cordelia, like, have it revealed that something's going on with Cordelia. And every episode leading up to this point, I'm just like, but maybe that's a hint. Maybe that's a nugget.
I don't think there's been any until this episode. I think this is the first episode.
I think I've just read everything I could into every little nuanced line, trying to make it not be another, like, Jenny Calendar situation.
I mean, I remember the very first time I watched it, I was surprised.
Yeah.
Like when it happens and the lady's like, your break's over. I'm like, huh? What? What happened? Okay, so then we're in the library and we have Wesley, Buffy, and Giles. And Buffy is telling them that, she wants to leave. And Wesley's like, what? Now? She's like, no, I want to go to college. I want to be, like a normal girl. And Wesley's like, you're the Slayer. And Giles is, kind of like, we talked about you going away. And Buffy tells him that she got into Northwestern, and Giles becomes dad right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is the father figure. He's like, that's great. He is so happy. Just the look on his face. He is so proud of her. And then Wesley kind of tries to go back to monsters, demons. And Buffy's like, but they have all that stuff in Illinois.
Yeah, which is a great point.
It's a really good point, except the whole apocalypse world ending thing probably only happens in Sunnydale.
It seems like it, which is like a weird thing.
If it happens in other places like Illinois, who's stopping it there?
I feel like there should be something written into the show that was never written in the show, that like these like convergences of evil that exist throughout the world are pretty much always where the Slayer has to be stationed, and not just some kind of fluke that, Buffy's mom decided to move to Sunnydale, and Sunnydale just happened to have a hellmouth.
Well, there's one in Cleveland.
There is one in Cleveland, and maybe other places. Who knows? But the idea that the Slayer, like
there's no world-ending stuff.
Yeah, Cleveland's a pretty chill. It's it's kind of a dormant hellmouth. Eventually,
definitely.
when this hellmouth gets like completely sealed, all of that energy redirects, and the Cleveland one becomes more active, I assume.
Yeah, but like at that point, we can send like 10, 15 Slayers to Cleveland. They could have a dorm. Okay, then Wesley is basically like, you're not leaving Sunnydale by the power invested me in the council. I forbid it. Like,
as a little like,
yeah, that's gonna help.
Crosses his heart with his hands. It's so great.
Buffy is basically, but yeah, I only have to like, y'all can keep the regular day-to-day stuff go like under control until I come back for every holiday and stop the world from ending.
She's already figuring out, like, the running gag of how there's always this big blowout come around May, right? That's a gag in Buffy. She's already figured out evil has a schedule, and I can work around that. Let me go to college in Illinois.
Well, there's usually a medium to one in January.
Yeah.
Like December, January. I'm just saying.
But again, like, she can work that out.
Yeah.
She can figure it out. She just has to come back to Sunnydale during the times when there's going to be a big event.
Yeah. And Buffy kind of comes to the conclusion that if she can go ahead and work things out with the mayor, that she can go. So she's like, okay, well, I'm tired of waiting. Let's take the fight to him. Wesley's against it, but Giles says she's right and asks her what her plan is. And she's like, I need a plan. And he's like, yeah, if you want to do this, and says that they need to find out what exactly the mayor's up to. And Buffy, she's like, I knew that. I thought you meant maps.
Yeah, maps equal plan.
Yeah. So, okay. And then we're at the airport. Which Sunnydale now has a college and an airport. And very, I don't even know how to describe this guy that gets out of the airplane. He's a guy very mob-like, and he is carrying a very fancy bop and has it handcuffed to his wrist. He walks across the tarmac, and there is a vampire at a limousine kind of waiting for him, and the courier gets very upset because the mayor's not there, and the vampire just wants to take him. And the courier does the basic, he was supposed to be here, I don't like surprises, so the price just went up. And at that point he is shot with an arrow.
Yeah, this whole scene plays out so funny to me because Faith shoots this guy with an arrow and then jumps down, and the vampire's like, you killed him, and then there's the funny gag, what are you, the narrator, and all that fun stuff. But then she proceeds to, after they can't find the key, pull out the knife to cut the box free, and she says it will cut through bone. And like the entire time, like it's supposed to frame like Faith as like this really brutal person, and then they have this vampire, this literal evil being who's probably done way worse than Faith has ever in her life, but it's like even in this like moment is supposed to be like grossed out by what Faith's doing.
Yeah, I've literally got that in my notes too. I've got, why is this vampire so surprised and scared of
it? May just
Faith?
Be because she's a slayer, and like
maybe
but like it really like seems like it's played out like he's grossed out by her, and I'm just like, you're a vampire. And I don't know if like the direction just wasn't done right, but
See, I didn't get grossed out. Well, I mean, we came to the same conclusion, like, why does this vampire think this about Faith? But I did not get grossed out. I thought he looked more like shocked and scared of her because, like, he kind of backs away.
Yeah.
But I guess you back away when you're grossed out, too. So
yeah.
it could be either.
It could be either. But I think, like, it's supposed to, like, frame just how far gone Faith has because she's willing to, like, kill a guy and, like, cut him up.
And we don't have a clue of what it's supposed to be because there's no direction in the script of how he's supposed to be acting.
Well, and here's an issue I have. The mayor's been working on this for like 100 years. Like, this ascension's a big deal. He's been prepping for a long time. Why does he not already have this box? Why did the books of ascension just fall into his lap because of some random demon that happened to have them in town? Like, why is this stuff not already figured out?
Well, you know.
Like, the literal books of ascension that later we rifle through, those just were something that, like, a random demon had.
Yeah. Well, like, could he have still done it without the books? Did the books just, like, help?
I don't know, but it just seems like that would be something that he would have. Maybe there's multiple copies. Maybe they had, like, a limited print run of, like, 2, and the mayor had one set, and this demon had the other set, and so now the mayor has both sets.
Maybe, if they only printed 2.
But yeah, like, this box, I feel like the mayor would already have this box. He would not be waiting this late in the game to acquire this box. So we return to City Hall. Buffy's there, being all stealth action Buffy, and you see her watch as Faith carries the box inside, and then it cuts into the mayor's office, and he's all excited and asks what happened to the courier, and Faith says that she made him an offer he couldn't survive. And the mayor is so giddy. Like,
really? Why are you so excited by this? And I guess you would think, you know, demons aren't going to work with him anymore if he doesn't, like, you know, keep his bargains, but like he's fixing to ascend, so he doesn't really care. He's
gonna be big enough to make them listen.
Earlier in the season, he got really upset when Mr. Trick did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, there was something like that though.
It was something just similar like,
I did you a favor, and he was just like, "Be careful how many favors you do." Like, I remember that scene. I can't remember the exact circumstances that led to that scene. Yeah. But yeah,
I think like Buffy killed him, and he just.
Oh, it was the demon that they were paying tribute to with the babies.
Yeah. And Trick's like, "Oh, I did you a favor because, you know."
It's one less demon you have to pay tribute to. Yeah.
Which, this is similar, and the mayor is like giddy about it. So, weird.
But still not as weird as the fact that we continue to, like, run along this track of Faith apparently being really upset because she didn't get Angel. Like, well, why is this a thing?
Yeah, and he talks about how if Buffy came in and wanted to switch to our side, I'd say no thanks.
Yeah,
I don't need you.
And
he would.
And no, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. But like, it's again, you know, gaslighting, whatever. But he mentions this. Faith gets upset again. I can think, oh, well, she's still conflicted because Buffy is a thing that she's still conflicted about. And then the mayor brings up the Angel thing, and then Faith's like, no, I'm over it. She can have him. And I'm still just like, when did you ever like really like? When did the wanting of Angel start for you? Because I didn't follow that.
I mean, I'm guessing it's when the mayor told her to make a play for him.
I guess.
So he could go evil? I don't know.
I don't know, but like...
And I don't know that it's so much that Faith wants him as Faith wants to take him away from Buffy.
Yeah, which is definitely a better...
And is still upset that she couldn't. Not that she actually wants to be with him. Because if she could take him away from Buffy, she'd pretty much immediately lose interest.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't want this toy because I would actually play with it. I want this toy because you're playing with it mentality.
Exactly. And then Faith kind of absentmindedly decides to open the box, and the mayor like, don't do that.
Panic mode.
Yeah.
And then back outside, you can see the vampire pulling away, and Buffy smashes through the driver's side window and pulls him out and says, "What's in the box?" And then it cuts to the library and says it's the box of Gavrock. It houses some great demonic energy in the form of spiders. That's what it is.
Yeah,
demonic spiders. So the funny thing is like, I feel like later on, it's a little bit of like a reveal that he is eating these things. But like here, like she just says flat out, like he has to chow down on them. Yeah. But it's read as energy. So you're thinking, oh, he's absorbing energy. But then later the spiders come out, and then you don't really connect the dots until later in another episode, you see him literally eating the spiders.
Yeah, well, later this episode, he has to eat them, doesn't he?
Not this episode.
not?
You're getting episodes mixed
Okay.
up. But
I do that.
Yeah. But it's so funny because of this episode, it like spells it out. It's demonic energy in the form of spiders. It doesn't say in the form of spiders, but it's demonic energy that he has to chow down on. And then later we see the creepy crawlies. And then after that, you start to put it together like, oh, he literally eats those. It's not him like absorbing energy from this box or opening it up and have some kind of like aura around him as he like meditates. No, he's literally eating demonic spiders.
Yeah. And they look at some maps and talk about where the box is in the conference room. And Buffy says that's all I could get out of the informant before I had to stake him. And Wesley tries to take charge. And it's like, okay, here's what I think. And then they just interrupt him and keep on going without him.
He's got no respect.
This kind of continues for a little while. Like, they plan out this whole thing, talk about who's doing what, and it's Wesley, Giles, Willow, Xander. They're all talking about it and everything else. And then Wesley's just kind of like, stop. I demand you stop. Because they've got this whole thing planned. And he goes, I am charge here. And I mean, if there's ever a situation where you have to point out that you're in charge, you're not in charge. And he's like, this is moving too fast. We can't do this. It's not safe. And Buffy's like, hop on the train or get off the track. Then they plan for Willow to do some magic on the box and they disperse.
Yeah.
Which they'd actually in the script says they disperse.
They disperse. Yeah. Like this is a fun little scene to show our Scoobies very coordinated and Wesley the odd man out. It kind of makes me sad that we have this after we've shown Wesley to be able to work quite well with the Scoobies in the past, but this time
he always goes back on it.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those different writers, different episodes, and no one can decide where Wesley falls exactly. But this is the Scoobies kind of just very coordinated going through this. I love the little callback. Anytime I see like Giles becoming more like Buffy, it makes me crack up. But when Giles comes in with all of the stuff he's carrying, and Wesley asks, "What's that?" Giles goes, "Maps and stuff," calling back to that's what it takes for a plan, according to Buffy. But yeah, they discuss that not only are they going to heist this box right out from under the mayor's nose, but they're going to destroy it, and so they're going to have to prepare a ritual in order to get rid of the box permanently. And yeah, so they all disperse, as has been said, and then we have Xander on his way to get the ingredients needed for said ritual when he catches Cordelia through a shop window and just can't help himself. So he goes in to make his comments about how he's figured it out and that the reason that she's being so mean is that she didn't get into any schools. And she pulls out a stack of acceptance letters that include Duke and Columbia.
Which are not quite as impressive as Willow's.
Yes, but they're
pretty good.
Pretty good.
I mean, I went to a state school in Arkansas, so
yeah.
I can't say anything about Duke and Columbia. But Willow's are still more impressive.
But Xander is surprised at first and then again wants to get his dig in, so says that they saw a different side of Cordelia's father's money, and then Cordelia just tells him to go away. And he says, okay, I'm going to go help save some lives while you're accessorizing, and he leaves Cordelia on a lingering shot of her just looking thoughtful, like something's going on. Something might be happening in Cordelia's life.
Which we normally don't get to know what's happening in Cordelia's life. And then we are in the alley behind City Hall, and a van pulls up, and Giles is like, we'll create a diversion if something happens. And Wesley tells them to synchronize their watches, at which point they all show that they're not wearing watches. And he's kind of like, why do I even try? Willow, Buffy, and Angel climb up the very easily pulled down ladder of the fire escape to go up to the roof, which seems way too easy to me, but that's what they do.
The security systems in place at City Hall.
Not great.
Not great. Seems like if they had the same mayor who was plotting like very dangerous things over the course of 100 years.
They honestly seem like they're pretty normal City Hall security systems. I don't know a whole lot about it, but probably pretty normal, except when you think about what kind of mayor Sunnydale has.
Yeah.
And you're like, there should be more stuff.
Yeah.
And then we move to the library, and we have Oz and Xander, and they are setting up a pedestal for a spell, and they're trying to figure out what is what, and Oz shows an instruction sheet that Willow left.
Wow, she even drew helpful diagrams. That's the pedestal. Mm-hmm.
And the ingredients. And us. See, there's you. There's me.
Well, how can you tell which is which? I mean, they both kind of look stick-figurey to me.
Well, this one's me. See the little guitar?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Nobody liked my will.
Which is clearly like
really sweet.
Yeah, it's really sweet. It's clearly there to set up like a, oh no, Willow's in danger later in the episode. But it is like a really sweet moment. And I do like, I pointed out earlier, like Xander using Willow as a way to attack Cordelia. But I like the fact that these two have kind of found a common ground of they're back to that mutual love for Willow without it being weird.
Which is nice. Yeah, and so then we go back to Angel and Willow and Buffy, and they are on the roof, and Buffy is getting into some kind of Mission Impossible type rigging while Willow is sprinkling powder down through the skylight because this city hall has a skylight.
Also, like their hyper like security for the most important box of the Ascension is placed very specifically under said skylight.
Yeah. And then it's got the spell that Willow is doing, and it's got the Latin words and the English words. And one of the, I actually love this about the Buffy script. They all have an English translation of the spells, which is really nice. So she does the spell, and some blue light that's around the box just disappears. And so, now we know that it's safe to get, and Buffy tells her, now you need to take off, and she goes to climb down the fire escape, and we see Buffy repelling down into the room. Very Mission Impossible style. Which is new
so funny.
for our Scooby group.
It's so funny because, like I said, like how this transcript that I got, I felt like it's almost like the rough draft where they just kind of wrote it down and then didn't actually tweak it before they uploaded. They're like, that's good enough. But it literally says that he lowers her down over the box and then in parentheses, like the Mission Impossible movie.
Oh my gosh, does it really?
That's
Mine
how they
does not say that.
That's how they decided to like describe it in their transcript, and it's so funny to me. I was just like, perfect.
Mine officially says Buffy appears at the top of the frame, slowly repelling down into the room.
Nice.
Pin up the cable attached to her and find Angel lowering her with a pulley system.
This whole thing is...
Mine is more formal.
This whole thing is hilarious to me. Yeah. Like, one, they're incredibly athletic and probably don't even need this in order to get in and out of that room through that skylight, but they decided that this would be a funny thing to do. I don't know who came up with this idea. I was just like, yep, that's the one. But then later, when it's jammed and he's fighting with it and it's jammed, and I'm just like, you have vampire strength and she weighs like 100 pounds soaking wet. You can just pull her up. You don't have to use the pulley system. Just grab the other end of the rope and yank and you're good.
Oh my God. That did not even occur to me. I'm trying to figure out why he doesn't have the strength to unjam it. And it never once, and I swear, this is season 3, so it's pretty early in the series. So, and you've always watched the earlier episodes more, because, you start over all the time. But as many times as I've watched this episode, and it's probably half a dozen to a dozen times, maybe more, it never occurred to me that he could just grab the pulley or grab the rope and pull her up.
Yeah.
Never once.
Totally within his capabilities.
Oh, my gosh. Why didn't he? Why didn't he do that? Oh, how did I never think of it? I've always been kind of annoyed that they did that and he could have easily unjammed it with his vampire strength.
Yeah.
But yeah, he also could have easily just pulled her up.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably just could have given 2 yanks on the thing and she'd have gone flying through the skylight.
Yeah. It's so funny to me.
Wow.
And this is like the kind of stuff that in season 6 we see the trio do, and we laugh at the trio at how silly they are. But this is our main group, and they had like a whole coordinated plan. They like thought this through, and they were like, "No, this is the plan." And I'm just like, "Do you guys remember that you have superpowers? Like you have superpowers?" Maybe they were trying to plant Angel's love for gadgets for his own show because he loves gadgets. Maybe. All of a sudden,
he does do a lot of gadgets first season in the show.
They were just like, we're just gonna make him the gadget guy. He's gonna be.
I actually kind of know this because I'm in the middle of rewatching Angel season 1, and he does a lot of gadgets, but like all of them don't work.
Yeah,
a lot
get
of times
jammed.
they don't work. It's funny.
They always jam. I don't understand. And you can't do anything once it's jammed. Oh, so this fight scene's fun. Like Angel jumps down like after the vampires come in, and they have a little fight scene in this meeting room. There's a couple of like wacky gags of throwing props around. At one point, I think one of the vampires throws a chair at Angel and he grabs it and just like slams it over the other vampire. which always tickles me. And then they push over the table and it like kind of falls in a way that the vampires are under it, but they're clearly not under it. And then they struggle to get out, and it's just, it's all so silly. But then they run out and they kind of like dart to the side and hide behind some bushes as the vampires run out, and then they jump into the van and as Wesley and Giles pull up, and that's yeah. Oh no, Wesley and Giles pull for them to chase. That's right. They're the distraction. Yeah. And then they just slink away like the
more a
they are.
decoy than a distraction, but yeah.
Oh man, but like that whole like it's so silly. That whole section's so silly and so fun to watch for the entire time. You're just like, why was this the plan? Seems like there's so many ways that you could have done this that would have been easier. And then we cut back inside to the room. It's all in disarray. The mayor's like, this is unfortunate. You know, we just had this place redecorated, and he smashes something, and it's just like, they've got my box.
Although it's kind of funny that he says at taxpayer expense.
Yeah. Well, you know, they're all going to be dead soon, so it doesn't really matter. And Faith comes in, and she has Willow with a knife.
Says, but look what we got.
Yeah, a knife to her neck. And, like, the mayor is so creepy in this shot.
Yeah.
He's so just giddy about having Willow. Like, just like, prisoner. And, we go to a commercial break and cut back to the library, and Buffy says, how did you guys let, and then rephrases, how did this happen? Which is like an interesting beat to start this on. Everybody's kind of hostile towards each other in this scene a little bit. And Buffy's definitely, she's very clearly sided against Wesley, but there's even like some hints throughout this that she's upset with Giles about allowing this to happen, and yells at him directly later on in the scene. So there's some tension in brewing, not just with our main like guy that everybody hates, but just like everybody's upset because Willow's missing and presumed captured. And talking about doing the full-on assault. Oz is sitting silently through all of this. Buffy mentions once that, she swears that she won't let them hurt her, but he's just silent the entire time as they all kind of discuss what the plan is. Giles says a full-on assault could lead to her being killed by them. Wesley says they might have already, and then that's when Buffy realizes that she's too valuable because of the box and that they have to trade, and Wesley says we can't. So Wesley's the kind of framed as the bad guy in this, but he's using the argument. It's the trolley problem, right?
The means justify the ends. Yeah.
Will you sacrifice this one to save so many? It's funny because while not the exact same context, there is something that bears similarity to Faith's argument earlier in the season about, he's just one guy and we've saved, thousands when it came to the deputy mayor. And it's this balance of like, how do you measure lives against lives?
Right.
And it comes from Wesley and Faith, who are the Watcher-Slayer pair. And then I immediately flash to like season 4 of Angel when they finally get to be like the badass, like Watcher-Slayer combo. And you're just like, aw, wow.
Yeah. Well, there is a point in this where Buffy tells Wesley to duck and cover, and Wesley says very forcefully, "Damn it, you listen to me." Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is my thing, and I have like a series of question marks written in my notes for this. Right after that, there is a script instruction or description or whatever, and it says after Wesley says, "Damn it, you listen to me," it says, "There's balls in them there twit." His voice has genuine authority.
Wow.
Right, and I just have like a bunch of question marks beside it. Like, what exactly does it mean? Who wrote it? Why is it written like that? Like, so many questions. So, yeah, there's balls and then they're twit. And I feel like it's something I'm going to start saying when everyone gets, like, real passionate about something in a conversation. But I had to share that.
It's a delightful script note that I am glad I know. There is balls and them there twit. I feel like I have to look that up and see if that's an actual expression or if that was just completely made up. But like, Wesley is making a case, and even there's a point where Giles is like, we need to deal with this rationally, and Buffy shouts out, you're taking his side, which that's when they all burst out, and you don't really know exactly how that all concludes. But Wesley's making an argument that I feel like should have been addressed with Willow at the end of the episode. Like, I think there should have been something where Willow addressed that circumstance. at the end of the episode. Just one little scene of something where Willow was just like, I understand that you guys did this for me, like y'all came back and y'all traded this for me, but you know, now we have to work extra hard or something to make sure that we get this box back, that we stop the ascension, because otherwise, you know, this will all be for nothing. You know, like it's just there's gotta be something there. If you're gonna have this big of a weight in this scene of like making this trade and do all that, the fact that we get to the end of the episode and it's more just like, yay, we're gonna go to college together, and not, oh, we had a situation where the thing that's gonna lead to this ascension, this apocalypse, on our graduation day, which, just so you guys at home keep up, that would be before they would go to college, and is you know, very possibly world ending, is what we're thinking. Maybe that's a beat that we need to touch on as well, and not just, yay, we're gonna be college buddies. So I think the show realized at this point, it's just like, yeah, we're not fooling anybody with like the dread of the apocalypse. We know these people are gonna win, and we're just not even gonna acknowledge that. Yeah. Wesley's gonna be our only voice of reason in any of this, and the rest of the cast is just gonna be like, yay, we get to go to college. It's like there's still an apocalypse between now and then. It's a whole apocalypse you have to get through. But yeah, so they all blow up at each other. It gets more and more heated. They all start screaming at each other. Wesley says, you'll sacrifice thousands of lives, your families, your friends. And as he's shouting this, saying that it can all end right here, we have the means to destroy this box, Oz gets up, walks up to where they've set up for the ritual, and throws the entire thing against the wall, smashing all of it to debris, completely ruining any chance of using what they had gathered for that ritual, and just kind of stands there awkwardly and looks at Buffy, and Buffy looks at Giles and says, make the call.
Yeah, pretty much.
And man, is that not a great Oz moment?
Yeah, I'm not even going to say anything.
Yeah.
I
can see everybody's perspective there, and I can also see that there's reasons why, even though Buffy and Xander are so obviously pro, let's go save Willow, and Wesley's so anti, and then Giles and Angel are kind of like teetering that balance of like not really sure how to like, Angel's pretty quiet throughout most of this. But there's a couple of shots of him like considering. You every now and again you get a shot of him thinking. So like there's some conflict going on there. But then you have Oz, who is just in such resolve of like, yes, I will sacrifice all of those people for Willow. Yes, sir, I will.
Willow survives.
And I'm pretty sure, like, the fandom agrees with Oz in that. Like, this would be a very different scene if, like, the mayor had kidnapped Xander.
Oh, I think they would have still attempted to get Xander back.
They would have. But, like, I don't think, like, there's no point here that you're thinking...
Nobody's gonna throw a pedestal for him, though.
Yeah, there's no point in this that you're thinking, Wesley's making a good point. I'm gonna side on with Wesley on this. Whereas if it was Xander, you'd be like, there might be a point there, Wesley.
I take back what I said. Willow might throw a pedestal for
Willow
him.
might.
Yeah. Okay, so then we are back in the city hall. We are in like a unused storage type room with Willow. She tries to open a window, starts going through drawers and stuff. She sees a random pencil and some papers, and then a vampire guard comes in, at which point Willow says the weirdest thing. She says, I'm just looking for a sucking candy, and I'm like, what? Why?
You know, what's sucking
weird
candy
thing to say. Then says, oh wait, I shouldn't say that, you're a vampire.
I should just call it a hard candy like any normal person.
Right? The Willow is like, you know, you can't eat the hostage, and he says just a little taste and goes in to bite her, and we see the pencil that she found floating in the air behind him. Then she magically puts it through his back and dusts him. And every time I see this, I think, why did they not use this more often?
Yeah.
Willow can dust a vampire by floating a pencil into him. Why are we not using this? Like, why is Willow not going with the Slayer?
I was about to say, I just want to see a scene where like Willow is surrounded by vampires and then she just slowly opens up a pencil case.
Right?
She's just like, come at me.
I'd absolutely love to see that. But like, this is, as far as I am aware, this is never used again.
Right.
And I feel like it should be used every night in Sunnydale.
Yeah. If she could just float or launch projectiles of any sort, why is she not
Yeah.
just a
Doing that.
Yeah.
Why are we bothering with the whole fighting thing? Okay, so then Willow, she's dusted her guard, so she takes off. She's trying a door, it's locked. Trying another door, it's locked. And then she's kind of creeping through the hallway trying to get out, but she hears Faith talk. So she ducks into a random doorway, and she is in the mayor's office. And she kind of looks around and then opens up his little weird altar thing he has. And the shelf under it where she finds the books of Ascension.
Yeah, which are locked away in a very secure, like in his office, in a cabinet, behind a hidden door, not like in an open room underneath a skylight.
But she like immediately finds them.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. But still, like, you talk about how important this box is. Why is that box not down there?
And we kind of hear the mayor and Faith walk by, and they talk about how Buffy's like a dog, and that Faith's fixing to get to kill her. We see Willow looking through the books of Ascension, and then, Faith comes in after Willow has been looking at these for probably a while.
Yeah.
You get the impression time has passed.
Time has definitely passed. It's a little concerning how casual Willow is, just like chilling on the mayor's office floor, reading the books of Ascension.
Buffy, an angel, and a werewolf, and Oz, a werewolf on her side. She knows she's going to get rescued.
Yeah, plus she can float pencils.
Exactly. Faith was like, check out the bookworm. Anyone with brains wouldn't be doing this. And she grabs Willow up, and they have a really interesting conversation where basically Willow's like, Faith, I want to tell you something. And Faith is like, oh yeah, let me hear it again about how you're friends. We can help you. It's not too late. And Willow's just like, it's way too late. Which is not what anyone, and I'm sure the first time you watch this, I can't remember what I thought about this scene the first time, but I'm sure I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect her to say that.
It didn't have to be this way. But you made your choice. I know you had a tough life. I know that some people think you had a lot of bad breaks. Well, boo-hoo. Poor you. You had a lot more in your life than some people. I mean, you had friends like Buffy. Now you have no one. You were Slayer, and now you're nothing. You're just a big, selfish, worthless waste.
You hurt me, I hurt you. I'm just a little more efficient.
So, in my most recent watch, the third watch of this, I kind of watched this scene and I was just like, I don't love this scene, but it's whatever, I don't really understand the point of it. I don't really sure what Willow's trying to accomplish by saying these things.
Well, Willow never liked Faith a whole lot.
Yeah, sure. But still, she's definitely at the disadvantage in this scenario, and then she's like, let's poke it with a stick, right? It's not.
Well, that's not again showing that she is not worried. She knows that Buffy and Oz and Angel and everyone are gonna come
it's another
get her.
side of the weird self-awareness that this show suddenly has of just like, we're not going to kill off Willow. She has nothing to fear, and she realizes we're not going to worry about the apocalypse. We're going to be going to college in the fall. Don't worry about it. It's cool. The show's just become very self-aware. But so I was kind of like meh about this scene. But then I started thinking about this scene and the messaging in this scene, and not necessarily these characters, but just again, occasionally I think about this show as in what messages is this giving its audience? And here we have Faith, who, while yes, is the bad guy at this point, is a character that we have spent time with, who we have rooted for, and is definitely more in the anti-hero category of villains of, you're still kind of rooting for them. You still want to see them find redemption. And Willow, who is our, sweet baby girl, we would sacrifice thousands for her. We have just shown that, telling Faith off and being, very blunt about how far gone Faith is and how she's a big, selfish, worthless waste. But then the thing that really makes me mad is the line of, I know that some people think you had a lot of bad breaks. Well, boo-hoo, you had a lot more in life than some people. I mean, you had friends in your life like Buffy. And in no way do I like the idea of conveying a message that your suffering, your pain is less significant it because there are others suffering worse than you. You are not invalidated in your suffering because others also suffer.
Exactly. I am all about that.
Yeah. And that, I just got very mad at this scene. And this is coming from Willow, and I'm just like, Willow, I feel like maybe in like 3 seasons from now, you're going to make some bad decisions.
Possibility. She might.
She might go a little darker. But like, yeah, like Willow, our wholesome character that we're willing to sacrifice thousands for, canonically in the show, is here putting someone down on their suffering isn't as bad as other suffering, and they're just a big waste of space. And I'm just like, I don't like that messaging. I don't like that messaging for this audience. I don't like it.
Yeah. I actually say that all the time. In fact, I say it so much that, like, I recently had surgery. Mm-hmm. I had rotator cuff surgery. About 2 weeks after I had the surgery, my husband, who's taking care of everybody and me and everything, got poison sumac in the yard, which spread on his arm and was like spreading so quick that it was moving like an inch every day. Mm-hmm. He went to the doctor, got steroids and medicine and stuff for it. But he mentioned one night that his arm hurt. And he's like, I shouldn't say that. I know your arm's much worse. You had surgery. And I immediately was like, just because my arm hurts doesn't mean yours doesn't. Mm-hmm. And I literally feel so strongly about that I say those things, anytime anybody like acts like their pain doesn't matter, I say that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of one of my things that I cannot stand to hear anyone say, that what they're going through isn't as important as what somebody else is going through.
Yeah. This scene upset me on this watch through, like this most recent one, just because of that. And like the fact that it clearly hurts Faith. Like she's very humanized in the moment where she strikes out at Willow after she says all these things and says, you hurt me, I hurt you. I'm just a little more efficient. But you can see, like, Faith is still kind of a character that there's a redemption path for. Like, they're still playing with that idea of like, she still has these feelings. She still is upset about kind of what she's lost. Mm-hmm. And then you have, a scene where we're just putting down Faith. And I'm just like, oh. It's just another time where the entirety of season 3
really give her a chance.
Yeah.
They act like she betrayed them all because they were so good to her.
Yeah.
And they really weren't, though.
Yeah. It's just, there's things about this that I feel like are very probably unintentional commentaries of the way our systems in the United States at the very least work, and that, like, you give someone like the littlest crumb and expect them to be so grateful for it, and when they don't show their gratitude, then they're the villain. And I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't like the messaging here, and the messaging with Faith this entire season has reminded me of that kind of idea that people have of their handouts is basically what's happening, is they're giving Faith just the barest minimum of handouts and expecting her to just be so grateful for it. And like, even the mayor, who's giving her better handouts, like money, security, shelter, food, all of this stuff that's just like the most basic of, needs for us to find happiness, but he's providing it, but he's still doing it as a way to take advantage of her. And so like the entire season, I'm just watching this being like, oh, my sweet baby girl Faith.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So yeah, so that scene upset me.
I can see where it could be upsetting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I hate when people compare their pain to others.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guilty of that. I have fallen into that, like, I start feeling bad about my stuff, and then I'm just like, oh, well, I have it better than some people. I'm just like, yeah, but you can still feel, you're still allowed to be sad or to feel like, your life's not going the way you want it.
Always someone that's going to have it better than you, and always someone's gonna have it worse than you. You're still allowed to have feelings.
Yeah.
And while I mentioned that I really can't stand it when someone says that their pain doesn't matter because the person they're talking to has more pain, when it's flipped and someone with more pain says someone with like less pain or feelings or whatever says that theirs doesn't matter, but yours doesn't matter because mine is worse. I get very angry at people when that is said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that's why I get mad at this. It's not just that she's just like, oh, you had some good stuff in your life. She's just like, boo-hoo, you have it, better than other people. Like, she's like mean about it. It's not just like, Buffy was a good friend to you and you betrayed her. No, it's just like, suck it up, Buttercup. Your life isn't as bad as you think it was. And I'm just like, stop. And yeah, and then Faith hits her, and I think that's a valid response. But yeah, the mayor comes in and breaks it up, and then says that he has received an interesting phone call, and that is when we cut to Sunnydale High cafeteria. Mm-hmm. The gang is there. This whole scene's weird. This whole scene is weird.
Why are we doing this in the cafeteria at the school?
Yeah, like why? Why is this set up this way?
And then when Snyder comes in, I'm gonna have lots to say. like
lots of,
I have lots of issues with the principal coming into this.
Everything's weird. But yeah, they've sealed it all up, so there's only one entrance. And Xander says that's a nice, comforting, trapped feeling. But Buffy's like, that means they only have one place that they can come in at, and I want to see them coming. I'm just like, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, one way out means one way in.
Yeah, sure.
Like she said, it makes sense.
I also want to comment on the fact that the weapons of choice in this scene make no sense. Why are they picking like baseball bats and stuff?
Right. This is like Buffy and her Scoobies. They have better weapons than a baseball bat. Like they have stakes and crossbows and axes and what's that one you swing?
Like a
with
flail?
A ball on the end.
Like a flail?
Yeah, a flail.
Yeah, like they have all of that. Like they have so much stuff. And they're
every medieval weapon you could think of, they have.
Oh, but then the funniest bit. So you have the bit where the lights go out and Xander's like, guess they're shy. And there's the funny gag where Angel looks around and it's just like, I can see all right. And it's all funny and we all enjoy it. But then they actually come in through the one entrance, right? We've already established that there's one entrance. They come in to that one entrance, and every single one of the Scoobies is staring straight at them. And then you have Angel looking off to the side, just whimsically looking off to the side. And I was like, Angel, I thought you could see. And it's just like a single clip, and then it cuts away, and then it cuts back, and he's looking at the rest of the group alongside the Scoobies. But it's just so funny that you have this line of, I can see all right, and then everybody enters, and Angel's just like, where are they? Are they up there in the corner, in that dark corner up there? Maybe he's watching a fly buzz around in the corner, I don't know. But it cracked me up every time I watched it. I'm just like, what? Why?
So they're here in the cafeteria of the school. That's where they chose to do this meeting. Mm-hmm. And the two vampires come in, and the mayor comes in, and Faith, who has Willow, and the mayor is, well, I mean, I can't say anything else except that he's being the mayor. He's like, oh, this is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? I feel like we should all be wearing trench coats.
He's giddy about this. He likes it's like some shady workings going on. He's like,
He's like a little boy sometimes, but creepy.
Yeah, definitely creepy.
So Buffy's like, let her go. And he says, yeah, not until I have the box. And then he acknowledges Buffy and he's like, so you're the little girl. He's very condescending here and says she's pretty but a little skinny. Mm-hmm. And mentions that Angel didn't want Faith and has strange taste in women, at which point Angel says, I like them sane. And Faith kind of stabs or like pokes Willow in the throat with the knife, and Oz is like, Oz in the episode just says Angel. Mm-hmm. In the script he says Angel, chill out. So
yeah, I love that moment.
Really a big difference.
I love that moment though, where Angel's just kind of like goading them, and then Faith does that move to threaten Willow some more, and Oz is just like, Angel, like it's so
well. I like in the script he's supposed to say Angel, chill out, but I think him just like quietly saying Angel is better.
Yeah.
It's more of an
there's so
effect.
much emotion in those two syllables of just like, I've already shown that I'm willing to like sacrifice thousands for these girls. We're not going to lose her so you can take pot shots at Faith. Yeah. He's just so tense throughout this scene. And then the mayor gives his fatherly advice.
I just don't see much of a future for you two. I don't sense a lasting relationship. And not just because I plan to kill the both of you, but you got a bumpy road ahead.
I don't think we need to talk about this.
God, you kids, you don't like to think about the future. You don't like to make plans. But unless you want Faith to gut your friend like a sea bass, you'll show a little respect for your elders.
You're not my elder. I got a lot of years on you.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things you're going to have to deal with. You're immortal. She's not. It's not easy. I married my Edna May in 2003, and I was with her right until the end. Not a pretty picture. Wrinkled and senile and cursing me for my youth. wasn't our happiest time. And let's forget the fact that any moment of true happiness will turn you evil. I mean, come on, what kind of a life can you offer her? I don't see a lot of Sunday picnics in the offing. She's skulking in the shadows, hiding from the sun. She's a blossoming young girl. And you want to keep her from the life she should have until it's passed her by. And by God, I think that's a little selfish. Is that what you came back from hell for? Is that your greater purpose?
This is an odd beat. I don't dislike it, but it's an odd beat where he explains all the reasons why Buffy and Angel don't work as a couple.
It's kind of funny where he talks about his wife, because he, several times he said he's a family man, and he's like, I married my Edna May in '03 and with her till the end, and she was wicked and winkled and senile and cursing me for my youth. And it makes you think like she was cursing him for his youth. So she knew something was wrong with it, like something was going on. But she was okay with it? If he loved her so much, why didn't he make it where she could be that way too? Where are their kids? Where are his like great grandkids? Do they know he exists? Did he just stop hanging around it? Like, did he fake his own death for his kids? Like, how did this all work?
Yeah. I don't know if
There's so
does
many
it
questions
confirm
about it.
that he, like, I know he calls himself a family man, but does it confirm that he ever actually had kids? I know we confirmed that he has a wife here, but I don't know if it ever confirms that he had kids.
I don't know. Are you a family man if you don't have kids?
Well, it's just
Don't
the
you?
mayor.
Would
The
he have
mayor
said,
has
like, I'm a married
persona.
man?
The mayor has this persona that he's putting forth, and he does, like he says, fatherly advice and all of this. But you could say all those things without actually being that, or he could have done like horrible things to all of his family, because
I mean,
that's
and
possible.
like Sunnydale, do they never want to see his? If he claims to be a family man, do the citizens of Sunnydale never want to see his wife and kids?
There's a lot of things that Sunnydale's just accepting about this man. That you just have to be like, he is this. Like, here's my.
Like,
here's
is there
my,
never photo ops for the mayor and his family?
Here's my thing. I think in some ways it kind of works, but I think it's also funny that, like, in season 4, we get the initiative. And so there's clearly, like, an awareness of something going on in Sunnydale specifically. I'm not sure if it explains, obviously the initiative's been there a while, but I'm not sure if it explains when that exactly started. But, like, there is an ongoing, I think, increased awareness of Sunnydale and its terribleness. And, like, we often make comments of like, and then the next day, everybody's just like back to normal. And then the next day, we just forget all about the terrible things that happen, we just don't, worry. It all just resets. Like, how much of that could we like headcanon in the first 3 seasons? Is this the mayor? It's just the mayor keeping the peace by like doing some kind of spell to make everybody forget, and it just doesn't work on the Scoobies for whatever nonsense reason, but it's just like something that he like sweeps stuff under the rug. Like he does something that makes people, while still being aware, have like this weird fog. Put something in the water supply, does something to where people aren't as aware as they should be of just how bad Sunnydale is. I guess we'll find out when we watch the next 4 seasons of Buffy and see if there's anything that I can read into that. I have a project. But yeah, the mayor points out a lot of stuff that should be obvious at this point and has been pointed out by other characters and is obviously known by both Buffy and Angel. But for some reason,
they just don't like to accept it.
Having it spelled out this directly and like this long in front of everybody is uncomfortable, and is leading towards their breakup that's coming up in the next episode. We do get confirmation here. It was a discussion that we had, but Angel does say that he's got a lot of years on the mayor, and the mayor doesn't disagree. So Angel is older than the mayor. Confirmed.
Yes. So he's only about 120 years old.
Yeah, he may be like Spike age.
He said he got married in '03.
Yeah.
So 1903. Mm-hmm. So he would have been at 1920 at least. And this was 1999. So about 120 years old, maybe a little more, but at least 120.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they make the trade. Willow goes to Oz and is hugging him and stuff. And the mayor is like, that went smoothly and we feel like it's about to end. And Snyder comes in with 2 security guards. And one of the security guards, I'm assuming, is incredibly stupid or never had any kind of training at all, because he turns and locks the door behind Snyder and his other guard. And I feel like this is one of the stupidest things that anyone could do ever.
Yeah. It's also like, there's nothing conveyed that they would know that all the other exits are sealed. So, like, It's just circumstantial that they decide to do that, and this properly seals them into the cafeteria when they've already established there are, in fact, multiple entrances to the cafeteria that were sealed by the Scoobies. So not only is it dumb to just lock yourself into some shenanigans going on that you're not sure, what's happening, and block off your potential escape if things go south, but then also to just assume that locking it is properly sealing you in when you know there's other access points. Not to mention a full wall of windows that wouldn't be hard to get through if they wanted to escape. Snyder, again, is like Snyder cranked up to 11. And said that he knew that they were up to something, and Buffy tells him to get out of here, and he's like, you're not giving orders, and grabs the box and says he's going to find drugs in it.
Yep.
Faith pulls her knife.
Tell me I won't find drugs in this box.
There's drugs everywhere. Drugs everywhere. Faith pulls her knife.
And Buffy's like, wait.
Yeah. And this is when the mayor starts to step back in. He kind of hid in the shadows when Snyder came in, and now he comes back and
in the script, I want to point this out.
Okay.
Snyder gets the box and hands it off to the guard behind him, and Faith pulls out her knife. Buffy tells her to wait, and Faith looks at the mayor and says boss with a question mark. And that is when the mayor steps forward. I don't think she does that in the episode.
No, she doesn't. The mayor just steps forward. Interesting.
I think that this has meaning, though.
Yeah. There's another, subtle change.
Do I kill him? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's looking for him to, should I do this or not,
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's interesting. Yeah.
I kind of wish it was in there.
Yeah.
Now, Snyder kind of, some Snyderness goes out of him when the mayor steps out of the shadows.
He's more Snyder cranked up to 2 now.
Yeah, it's like, I'm
he
so
drops.
sorry.
He drops quite dramatically. He's like, oh.
Yeah. And the mayor goes, it's I who should apologize coming here at night. What must you think? And we don't see the guard. They're unnoticed by anyone starts to open the box. And the mayor says, see, I just needed to. And then he sees the guard and he says, stop, don't do that. Here is what I really, really want to know. Mm-hmm. What was the mayor about to say? What did he need to do with a bunch of students, including, in Snyder's mind, the worst students, 2 of the best students, the librarian,
a random guy from England just showed up and hangs out.
And the mayor.
Yeah.
What was he gonna say to cover this situation? I really, really wish that I knew what he was gonna say. It's just, because it'd be good.
Oh yeah, he would. It would have been the most absurd thing ever, and Snyder would have been like, "Yes, sir. Yes, I understand completely."
And then the guard peers into the box, and a spider comes out of it. In the script, it's a black spidery thing, but I think this is very much a spider.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those Australia spiders that's gigantic, but it's a spider, and it comes out and attaches to his face, and he screams. Okay, so in the episode, and I don't know what's in your script, but in the episode, these spiders make 4 little gouges in people's faces with its legs. Is that what's in your script?
Mine's literally like a fan transcript, so they wrote based off of what's actually in the episode that aired.
Oh, okay. I have
not a
the
script.
Scripts that we're given to
not the script. Yeah, you do the scripts, I do the transcripts for whatever reason.
Okay, yeah, there's a difference. In the script, the original script, this spider rips the faces off whoever he gets on. He literally rips the entire face off, including the mayor, and you get to watch his face grow back.
Oh.
Yeah. So they changed that.
Yeah, that would
probably because special effects or something.
Yeah. Well, they did. Oh, it's the roommate episode in season 4 where they rip a face off.
That's true.
So,
but it says, for a second, nobody can move. The guard drops to the ground with the spider on his face. The box also falls to the ground, remaining open. And a second later, the spider skitters off the guard into the shadows. And we see that it has taken the guard's face with it.
Nummy face.
The guard is very dead.
The guard is very dead.
Yeah, even the scripts are funny because there's a period and a space, and then they skip a line, and then they're like, the guard is very dead.
Yes.
And you could just like read how the person writing it was thinking. So yeah. So even the scripts are funny.
Yeah.
And then basically Snyder's like, get the door open, and Giles, no, don't, we can't let that thing out. And Xander's like, where'd it go? I want to know where it went. Buffy's like, listen. And they find it on the ceiling, and it falls off into the face of the mayor. Faith yells boss and wrenches the spider off his face and throws it to the ground, where it sneaks into the corner where Wesley and Giles are, and they scramble to high ground.
Mm-hmm.
The mayor stumbles back against the table, his face also having been ripped off. So yeah, we're face ripping off.
Yeah,
spider.
Yeah. It's a lot less dramatic in the actual episode. He's just got some gouges, but still, he kind of like shakes it off, and we see it heal, and
we see Snyder looking at him
just
crazily
like
as it heals.
losing his mind. I think this is the point where we start to see like Snyder snap and is no longer Team Mayor. Because he definitely gets to a point where he's willing to shout at him while he's a giant snake.
Yeah. We see another spider come out of the box, and the mayor's like, yeah, y'all should close that. And Buffy dives for it and slams it shut on a third spider and severs 2 of its legs in the process. Spider jumps on her back. I mean, I don't know if it rips skin off or nothing or anything. It doesn't say so, but I'm assuming it does.
It's probably like through the layers of clothing and how quickly she falls back, doesn't have time to, but it probably would have. I don't know if it's specifically face or if it'll just rip off, like it just after skin in general.
I don't know. But apparently it carries skin around with it.
Yeah. It likes the face specifically for an initial attack, it seems.
Yeah. Faith sees the other one, and she throws her knife at it on the wall.
It is interesting that while it's not really the reason why she takes out this spider, it is interesting that she takes out the spider that is currently the biggest threat to Wesley. And again, finding those connections between Wesley and Faith, because I love that. She effectively saves Wesley's life in this moment when he's like, no, and ducks down, is all scared that she's about to throw the knife at him, and instead kills the spider that was behind him and him not being aware that it was there. And I love that stuff. I'm gonna be so uncontainable. Is that a word? We're gonna go with that when we have that little arc in season 4 of Angel where Wesley goes to Faith and she breaks out of prison and they get to be Watcher and Slayer, and it's just so emotional thinking about it. And like there's a couple moments in this episode I'm just like, I like it. I like that there's still something there. So the ones that we've seen get out have been dispatched of. Oz asks if that's all of them, and the mayor says that there's about 50 billion of them in that box.
Yeah, and you're just like, so how does that work?
Dimensional portal, I guess, in a box. And then he's like, would you like to see? Raise your hand if you're invulnerable. And he instructs Faith that it's time to go. At this point, I think they finally got the door open, and anybody other than the Scoobies, the Mayor, Faith, and Snyder have left. Long gone. And Faith lingers a little bit because her new toy is stuck in the wall behind all the Scoobies, and she stares at it all sad because it's her present, perhaps the first present she's ever gotten. And I cry again.
Can't go and get it. I'm surprised she doesn't just run to it to get it.
Just cry. Which is it's really silly because they make such a big deal about this knife, but at this point the mayor's already given her an apartment, he's given her a PlayStation, all these clothes and nice things that she has, he's given her tons of gifts, but this one's a just cuz gift kind of his way. It's before it was he was gonna be her sugar daddy, and she had that mindset. And this is after they've already built the relationship. She's already gained his trust. There's no real reason why he needs to continue to buy her. So he just got her a gift as I think you would like this kind of gift. And that's how Faith is perceiving it. Obviously, us as viewers can read that he's just trying to keep her manipulated. But for Faith, having someone not just give you gifts as a way to it's interesting how much weight she puts on this gift of just
yeah.
And it's even still you could read it as him buying her because he asked for a favor and stuff like that. He asked her to go to the airport and get the box and all of that stuff, but it's wrapped up nice. It's more of a traditional gift giving practice of taking time to surprise her and all of that. And Faith's real sad because she's having to leave it, and the mayor just doesn't seem to he just keeps shouting, Faith, come on, let's go. let's go, Faith. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't like repeating himself. And she just stares and then eventually follows him out.
Yeah, I wish she would have run over and got it, though.
Yeah, that's okay.
And then they leave, and Buffy looks over at Snyder. It's like, you alive in there, Snyder? And he wants to know why couldn't they be dealing drugs like normal people. And here's my issue with this. He then leaves, and his security guards go with him. He is the principal of the school. Why is he just leaving a bunch of students in the library in the middle of the night?
Well, and it's like, he knows what goes on in this school. This shouldn't be like a revelation of, oh, monsters are real. He knows. It's been established since the beginning of season 2 that he knows fully.
Right, but why is he, like, letting teenagers and students just be in the school in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing.
It's showing that he's shook by this, that he just can't deal anymore. But, like, he shouldn't be as shook, I feel like, as he is, based on what we've seen in his history. Like, he
knows there's monsters, but maybe he didn't know the mayor was one of them.
Maybe, and maybe
So
that's why. Like, his whole reality just shattered. Give the man a break. This is a guy he's been worshiping for like a season and a half. And now he's just like, crap. Why couldn't it have just been drugs? So yeah, he leaves. Buffy goes and retrieves the knife, and Wesley's like, well, that went swimmingly, and she says, we did all right. And then her and Willow exchange a look. I'm not really sure what that look's supposed to be about, but okay. I mean, she's safe.
It was just Buffy being grateful or being happy Willow was back, and Willow being thankful she was back.
Yeah, but like,
I didn't think there was anything in that.
But like, I feel like they're wrapping stuff up in a bow that doesn't exist. And the fact that in the next scene, we conclude it with Wesley saying the very obvious thing of just like, well, we're pretty much back where we started. And this episode about choices, and then basically all the decisions that are made in this episode lead them back to where they started, is kind of the theme that's being played with in a way. I feel like the theme doesn't land as well as it should have, or they should have had a better way of conveying what they were going for. Cause like, they made a bunch of rash choices throughout all of this that resulted in not really a worse off position, maybe a slightly better position because they have the pages from the books. But like, again, like, it feels a little bit like a wasted episode to me. It's definitely an episode used to set up the finale, which is weird because we still have the prom between us and the finale, but it's basically setting up like we're coming down to the final encounters, we're setting up all of our major pieces and kind of getting those ideas across. But the fact that this episode, other than getting the pages and having a couple of slight reveals that we like, I mean, the Cordelia thing's a reveal, an actual reveal. The fact that Buffy and Angel are doomed is not really a reveal. So we get to the end of this episode, and that's kind of like what we're left with as our take home. And it feels like this should be a bigger episode than it is. Like, there's a lot of moving parts in this episode for us to basically end back at square one. And I don't know what the messaging is in an episode called Choices, because the entire series is about choices and consequences, right? Like, that's the idea of Buffy in my mind, is we live with the consequences of the choices we make. And so when you have an episode called Choices that seems so significant of a title, and then you have this episode where they make a bunch of arbitrary choices that result in not a lot of consequences.
Well,
I think my problem is the title.
Well, there are a lot of individual choices made.
Yeah, but like the whole, like, this is deeper Buffy stuff, and this is very personal to how I read the show, is that you make choices, you get your consequences. That's what a lot of this season's about. That's like, you know, Faith's consequences and dealing with those. Like, you have an episode called Consequences, and you deal with the consequences, and you have an episode about choices and the idea of them flowing into each other, right? But then, like, the choices that are made, ultimately, it loops back around. And even like at the end, the conclusion is, well, I'd say we're back to square one. Like, that's Wesley's parting line. Like, we're right back to where we started. It's like a weird message to leave this episode on. Like, it's like sometimes the choices you make are maybe forced, and then you have to make choices to counteract the choices that you make and go back and forth, and then you just end up back in the same spot. And if that's the message that they wanted to convey, then sure, but like I feel like they needed to do that better and maybe not so close to the finale.
I always thought the choice was about Willow choosing to go to UC Sunnydale.
Yeah, that's
Like
a single choice in this episode, but there's lots of choices, like them choosing to go to UC Sunnydale, sure. But again, like I don't know. I don't feel like that's enough to carry the weight.
Make it called choices.
Carry the weight of that title. Because for me,
the entire episode was about the future, about what colleges they were going to go to, about what Xander was going to do, about Buffy wanting to leave Sunnydale. I mean, it was all choice.
I think my issue, here is my issue, and this is something that I am aware of with myself, and this is why this episode infuriates me the way it does, is that it's so close to being correct, but it's a near miss for me, and thus I hate it. If it was completely off page, I'd be like, whatever. But the fact is, they could have done this episode incredibly well by tweaking it slightly, getting the messaging a little clearer, making the choices more obvious, that if you rush into a choice without thinking about it, Buffy rushing into the choice to go away to school and then causing all of this chaos that basically results them back to being where they started, and Buffy still having to stay in Sunnydale to go to school because she didn't really take time to consider the choices properly. She just tried to force a choice that wasn't going to work as easily.
Well, I mean, it could have worked if Willow hadn't gotten called. It would have worked fine.
Well, and this all falls apart when you have that whole bit where Willow decides to spend like an hour and a half just looking at books.
If she had just left.
Yeah, like that infuriates me.
It could have worked. Everyone made choices to make it not work.
Yeah, it's like...
That's what it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if that's the messaging that they're going for, I think they need to make it more obvious. But the problem is the person that's delivering this message that's actually kind of on the nose on why this episode is about, like, making poor choices or making rash decisions, you know, however you want to frame it. You know, all of that messaging is presented from Wesley. Yeah. And, you know, it's season 3 Wesley. He hasn't earned his cred yet for us to be like, yes, sage wisdom. From the guy who earlier said, by the power of the council, I forbid it, and used some kind of weird hand signs over his heart. This is the guy delivering a message of just like, you made a bunch of rash decisions that I warned you against, and now we're basically back at square one. You know, was it worth all of that risk? You know, and then the fact that he made the point earlier that they were in a position where they could have stopped the ascension at the cost of Willow, which of course the fandom would riot. That's never going to happen, I understand, but he's the one making that argument, and Oz made the rash decision while everybody's arguing about it to destroy the stuff for the ritual. Like, it's all about not necessarily considered choices, but like
choices.
Yeah, it's really passion. Yeah. Well, this episode's passion. They've got all the titles wrong.
We've already had an episode called Passion. We can't have another one.
So anyway, like, I think that it could have really worked if it was gelled together a little bit better, and like there was a more clear message on the fact of like, these are things that we did spur of the moment that resulted in a lot of potential bad. You know, we decided not to destroy the box. We decided to go in rashly and endanger Willow. We decided to give the box back to the mayor. Like, I mean, there's choices that they made that got to them through this episode and to this spot, which is basically right back at the beginning. And I don't mind that as an episode structure if that messaging is made more clear and not delivered from a character that nobody, you know, cares to listen to anyway. Like, the entire episode is about, hey, let's not listen to this guy, and then he's the one delivering the message at the end of like, well, we're right back where we started. And I'm just like, something just didn't click for me with the way they laid all that out. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, back in the library, Willow and Buffy are discussing, you know, everything that happened between Faith and Willow, and she's like, you know, I'm not afraid of you, and talking about all that stuff, like, you know, how awesome she was, except for when the knife was held through her throat. That was less fun. Giles is pacing in the background, and it's finally just interrupts and says, okay, so you actually had the books of Ascension. Well, it's just like, yeah, but I just kind of in a hurry, and, you know, I just kind of like flipped through, but there was a few pages that were kind of interesting, but I didn't have a chance to read them fully, and Giles is a little disheartened, and and then she pulls them out of her pocket and has a tiny little stack of pages, and he's just like, see what you can do with them, and he's all excited. He rushes off to go and study, and this is when this is when Wesley steps up and delivers that line of, well, hope there's something in those pages, because we're right back where we started. And there's a little bit of recognition in Buffy that, yeah, that's we went full circle in this episode. And then you have this last little cute scene between Willow and Buffy. Mm-hmm. Buffy's there in deep, meaningful thoughts, and saying that she was fooling herself, and she's never getting out of here, and that she's a Sunnydale girl. And Willow starts to say, well, that must be rough. I can do anything I want. I can go to college over in, Europe and just, skedaddle. And Buffy's like, please tell me you're going somewhere with this. And Willow says, I'm not going anywhere, and pulls out a letter to hand to Buffy. And Buffy says, UC Sunnydale. And yep, they're both going to UC Sunnydale in the fall. And they're super excited about that. And Buffy's even just like, oh man, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't sacrifice all of this for me. And Willow's just like, well, it's not just for you. Like, I'm fine, but it isn't really about you. It's, about fighting evil and everything that I realized in this last little bit, and how I want to continue this fight, and all of this. And I'm just like, in the back of my head is just like, so yeah, we're just completely ignoring the fact that there's an apocalypse coming.
Yeah, but they're used to that.
They're just so casual. Like, this whole episode's about the Ascension's coming, thousands of people will die. We have to get rid of this box. And then they don't actually thwart the Ascension at all. And then they're just like, but we get to go to college. And I'm just like, ooh.
At the same place.
Ooh.
And Willow says that she's going to UC Sunnydale, which kind of makes sense, because with her grades and all the colleges she's been accepted to, she could literally get cash back from scholarship.
Yeah, sure.
And not make money.
Yeah.
By going to UC Sunnydale. But she mentions that she'll be able to design her own curriculum. But she never does. She never does that. She always registers for regular classes and takes classes with Buffy and with Tara, and is like, aren't you supposed to be doing something individualized? Just saying.
Just saying,
it seems like she'd be doing a whole lot of individual work study stuff, one-on-one with professors and things like that,
Yeah, she would definitely be at that caliber of being every professor would be like, yes, I will do that. Turns out you got into Harvard and you decided to come here.
Yeah. And then, when she comes back after season 6, she has to actually go to professors and ask to be able to complete their classes and, do essays and stuff to get back in, and that wouldn't happen. She'd probably already have graduated. But
she would have been done with college halfway through season 5. She'd be like, I did it.
I mean, I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, she's as smart as she's
at least
framed
halfway
to be.
through season 6 when she was a junior.
Yeah. She I'm
just saying.
I will say,
they let her skip half the general ed class, or maybe all of the general ed class.
Honestly, truthfully.
But she seems to just go like a normal student after all that. And
if they had something to explain, but she wanted to have some classes with Buffy or stuff like that, maybe that would make sense.
But why would she? I mean, hang out after class. Why would you take more classes than you have to?
Yeah, no one wants to do that. Well, Willow actually might want to do that now that I say that.
True. That is very
Willow's
true.
just like, yes, I would like to take extra classes. Of course I would. Maybe by design her own curriculum, she's just like, I take all of the normal classes, but then I also take a bunch of extra stuff that I designed that you never see.
She never talks about it.
It's all done off camera. Before we move on from this scene, I will say, I am okay with Willow being like, you know what, the fight's here. Also, I'm into witchcraft and this seems like a good place to learn. Mm-hmm. So, these are the reasons. It's not just to be one of the main cast members that stays in town, even though I have all of these awesome opportunities because the show requires me. She has reasons that are much better than a lot of reasons that are usually given to stay in your hometown and go to the local college that all your friends are going at. that because you want to not leave your friends or you have a boyfriend or something like that. She's just like, I know, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to help people. And I'll give them credit for that. Like, that's a reason that I can get behind you sacrificing those opportunities. Even though I still like would have liked Willow to have those opportunities and to actually go to one of those better schools, I can at least understand this justification much better than most shows of this time. So, given that, yeah, Buffy's all excited. She tackles Willow and, you know, has her little moment of like, you know, I can't ask you to do this. So after all of that, where she's just like, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. Buffy says, I kind of love you. And then they decide to go for mochas. And then there's a little back and forth where Buffy's like, sometimes you look at something and you think you know exactly what you're seeing. And then you find out it's something else entirely. And Willow's like, neat, huh? And Buffy's like, sometimes it is. Which is another, like, it feels like, here's the lesson we learned in today's episode kind of beat, but it doesn't, like, it doesn't really work with the entirety of the episode. It kind of works with the next scene. You know, it works with what's happening with Cordelia and what's going on with Buffy and Angel. So it sets up the next couple of scenes. But it really feels like it's one of those, this is what we learned in today's episode. Just the way it's, like, talked about. This is what we learned today. And I don't feel like it works with the episode as a whole. So there's just, like, there's things structurally about this episode that confuse me. But are you ready for me to get mad again?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So we have this very brief Cordelia scene where she's looking at that dress again, and then the woman comes in and it's just like, what are you doing? Your break's over. You need to restock the shelves and clean out the storage room, blah, blah, blah. And leaves, and Cordelia just kind of looks at the dress a little bit longer and then goes back to work. And so, like, it's all framed and you're just like, aw, Cordelia's going through something. Like, she's dealing with real pain here. And you feel sympathy for Cordelia, right? In the same episode that we told Faith that her pain wasn't valid because there's people who have had it worse than her. And I'm just like, Cordelia is like way higher on that. Like, you gave this message to Faith of like, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, you had pain and suffering. Well, guess what? You had Buffy, and then you, not 2 scenes later, have Cordelia, and you're just like, oh, I feel bad for Cordelia. She's having to work to, like, buy a dress after being rich her whole life. And I'm just like, you can't have both. I'm fine with feeling bad for Cordelia in this moment. I get it. I sympathize with Cordelia in this moment, but I hella sympathize with Faith. And the fact that you had Willow be the one who's just like, oh, shame on you.
I really sympathize with Faith. Faith did not have, nobody did for Faith what they should have.
Yes.
Not Giles, not Buffy, not Wesley, not anybody. And what happened to her could conceivably be the fault of, partially the fault of the people in her life.
Yeah.
Faith did, however, specifically choose to join the side of evil. Cordelia is not a nice person, but she didn't choose to have her dad mess up financially and her be destitute. She didn't make that choice. It just kind of happened to her.
Okay. I still don't like it. I feel like it's
don't
mixed.
like it either.
I feel like it's mixed messaging. I feel like it's mixed messaging that whoever wrote the episode didn't think about the fact that they had this scene where they're going to put down Faith and then 2 scenes later have you feel bad about Cordelia's situation. And I just don't think they thought it through. And it's really poor messaging. It's so mixed up, and it made me upset when I realized that they're underplaying Faith's suffering and then turning around and wanting you to sympathize with Cordelia over something that seems still tragic, but like you can't have it both ways. You can't have, there are people that have it worse than you messaging and then have Cordelia, our resident mean bitch, get sympathy. Like, it just doesn't work. I think the episode just structurally doesn't work in that way. And a lot of times you're like, okay, well, where does the messaging come from? Does it come from your villains? Because then you can kind of read into that. But this is Willow. And yes, Willow eventually becomes a villain, I understand. But at this point, Willow is not a villain. Willow is our good guy. Willow is staying in Sunnydale to help people, right? She wants to be part of the good fight. We're willing to sacrifice thousands for her. And she's delivering the wrong message in this episode. And that makes me bitter. So yeah, this episode made me mad.
Yeah, you really don't like this one, do you? Or the name of it?
I was meh about it up until this most recent watch through, and then there was a couple things that stood out to me. I was just like, this is just, it structurally doesn't make sense. It's not a very well structured episode, and then the messaging is so mixed up. It contradicts itself so quick in those couple of scenes, and I'm just like, I'm not happy about it.
I honestly do not see it as big a contradiction as you. I mean, I see the contradiction is there, and I see what you're saying. I don't think it's as severe. I don't see it as severe as you do.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to be as angry as I am. I don't recommend it. It's not good. You're allowed to like things, Kim. Even if I say that they're terrible, you're still allowed to like them, and you're valid.
Oh yeah, people are allowed to like things, even things you don't like.
Yep.
I don't like either of the situations, though. I mean, don't put on me that I'm enjoying it or anything. I don't like either one. I just don't think it's as big a contradiction. It is a contradiction. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't think it's as severe of one as you do. But you're allowed to hate it.
Yeah. Thank you. I will.
There you go.
All right. And then the final scene. There's a lot of little bits at the end of this episode. Okay. It's just they're in the library, then they're out on the lawn, and then it's Cordelia, and then they're in the graveyard, and it's Buffy and Angel.
Scenes,
yeah. So Buffy and Angel are in the graveyard. They're cuddling up against a headstone, I think. They're just cuddling on a grave.
Why? Whose grave is this? Oh. Who does it belong to?
Oh boy, it's romantic. It's not even by the beach this time.
Really not. Okay, so I grew up in a really, really small town. It was very, very rural, very, very country, very, very out there. We had our city population when I was in high school was 400 plus. There wasn't even 500 people. There's still not. It's tiny and it's dead end, backed up against a levee. This is country kid area. Mm-hmm. And everyone always used to go to this old cemetery that was there to make out and hang out with their boyfriend, girlfriends, to drink and everything else when I was in high school. And I never understood why. Why? It's a graveyard. It's not romantic. It's not fun. And I mean, I was very socially awkward growing up. I had friends, but I didn't have anybody to go out to the cemetery with anyway. But even if I did, I mean, I think I would have rather gone up on the levee or something. Mm-hmm. There were other places to go in this really, really country area than to this cemetery. Why? Why would you do it? It never made sense to me. Even when it still doesn't make sense to me.
There's so many graves to cuddle on.
Apparently. It's apparently something I don't know about in the late 90s for high school students. No. I don't know.
So Buffy's talking about going to college and how she's hoping to live on campus and that she shouldn't be too far away from Angel's place. And then she starts saying, I don't know what the mayor was talking about. How could he know anything about us? And Angel's just kind of, he's quiet. Being very very simple answers. He's evil. No, yeah. He's just kind of agreeing as Buffy's rambling through this. So, he doesn't even know what a lasting relationship is. He only had a lasting relationship with evil, and he's a big, stupid, evil guy, and will be okay. I mean,
apparently he had a lasting relationship with Edna May.
Yeah, apparently,
I mean, he knows pretty much everything about y'all. I'm just saying.
He did come to this, from a perspective of, hey, I've been through this. I've watched my wife age while I stayed young, and it caused a lot of issues between us. So maybe there was some direct comparisons to be made there, but here Buffy's just in denial about it all. And like I said, Angel's just kind of nodding along, basically, is what he's doing. He's nodding along and agreeing as Buffy rambles through all of this. And then it ends with Buffy saying, we'll be okay. And Angel says, we will. And then she leans her head against Angel and they cuddle and they kind of just look off into the distance as the credits appear. And I think those two are going to make it. And that was my read on that scene.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who's paying attention is surprised when they break up.
Oh, and man, will I have stuff to say about that breakup, but we're not there yet. That will be next one. Which is the prom. Prom is next episode. I hear there will be hellhounds.
There possibly will be hellhounds. The prom is one of my absolute favorite episodes.
Yeah. And we get
Was that an agreement or disagreement?
I just kind of made a weird noise because I'm tired and we've been recording for over 2 hours.
Oh, okay. Just saying. Well, we did take a break for earthquake.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Which didn't help with keeping my it was just a huge spike of adrenaline, and then that adrenaline went away, and then I got extra sleepy. So yeah, prom's one of Kim's favorite episodes. I will remain neutral until I watch it again because I haven't watched it in so long, so I don't know what my feelings are. This episode I was okay with until the third watching, so maybe I'll watch Prom enough to hate it, and then we can argue the entire next episode. Wouldn't that be fun? Don't you want to do that?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. We thank you all so much for listening. And this is where we say bye.
Bye.
Was that an earthquake?
Is that an earthquake?
Did you feel it too? Because you're a good distance.
Feeling it.
Yeah, it rambled for a while there. I think that was an earthquake.
That
was.
I think it was too.
Stout. Like it should. I thought it was my cat at first, just like running.
So did I. Was trying to figure out what was rattling.
Like we both went silent. I was like, "What is that?" Oh God! And we're doing a Buffy podcast. This is not a good omen.